First of all, this student tried really hard, and I know that maybe they had some issues with understanding the article. I think reading comprehension of any of the three articles is so key. If you don't understand the article, or maybe even English isn't your native language, then it's really important to make an appointment with me so that we can go over the article together and talk about what you do understand rhetorically, and what you don't understand, so that your paper tends to be much, much better and on track. This student speaks more than one language, and even though the sentences seem like they contain a lot of really strong vocabulary, I can tell from the actual writing, looking at it closer, that the student is actually not understanding rhetorical analysis very well at all, and is relying way too heavily on the author's words and sort of just parroting those ideas, which ends up being unintentional plagiarism all throughout the paper, and this is why they ended up failing it. So if you just look at the beginning, I won't read all of it, but the beginning, the student talks about what STEM is, and the different ways that it has positively impacted our lives today. But there's nothing here that really talks about why um, diversity is important. She mentions innovations over and over and over again, and really it's not about innovations at all that is the main focus. If you look at Gibbs Jr.'s implications, his article is really about the underrepresentation of marginalized groups. It's really about diversity being needed in STEM, meaning that usually the people who are most privileged in society, the people who are dominant and considered the norms, are really at the top of the being hired in these STEM fields. And so she doesn't really call attention to that. She's talking about innovation and research over and over again. And by the way, scientific innovation is his word choice, not hers. So the redundancy of innovations here, I mean, it's just everywhere over and over and over again, at least four, five, six different times. I can tell that she's relying heavily on his article and not really thinking for herself to put it in her own words what, she considers to be his purpose, his argument, and the main heart of the matter. She doesn't even have a thesis yet that's evaluative and evaluates the claim. I mean, the three appeals, excuse me. So the students who are writing this paper need to remember that you are evaluating how persuasive the article is. Now, if we move on to some of the evidence here that you see me highlighting, this sentence here, actually, it's a claim. She's trying to start out a topic sentence, but a topic sentence should really be your own idea, not the author's. And that's why I wrote, give credit to Gibbs for this claim. This is his, not yours. She didn't even cite him. She didn't lead this by saying, according to Gibbs, an innovation needs to be diverse. And it's not explained very well, but even then, this idea didn't come from herself. That's my point, is be careful of redundancy. Make sure you're giving credit to the author by last name. Here, she does give credit to the author, but after the sentence is over, she moves on and doesn't give him credit ever again. And every time you start a new sentence, you really want to make sure that you are giving credit to the author. So here is where I can tell this language is completely his own. He's the one who talks about race, gender, sexual orientation, and all that. These are his ideas, and he needs to be cited. Now you'll see that I'm on her second page. I have scrolled down a little bit to the second page, and you'll see that she's still relying heavily on Gibbs' language. I even wrote in the margins, this is his language, not yours. You need to cite him directly. Notice that you haven't mentioned Gibbs really at all in this paragraph. Um, and so as we look at some of the evidence, even here with the Isaac Newton and Albert Einstein, I think she's trying to paraphrase, but the language isn't paraphrased enough. He's the one who actually says innate genius. He actually talks about the scientist being brilliant. He mentions that a few times. So you can see some of the language right here where she is basically parroting everything that's in his article and not even trying to just I think needs the student again because we want to empathize that they're an ESL student and maybe the article is really hard for them, but they still need to make a genuine attempt to give credit to the author by name. It says according to the author, but we need to cite Gibbs, and actually because the words haven't been changed enough to be paraphrased, it needs to be in direct quotation marks. So much of it is not changed enough. So this student just needs to work on that skill. And what I wish the student could have done differently was just come to me during office hours and worked with me on it before they turn in a final draft like this. Um, and there's no language of the appeals happening yet, even though I do see some language about trust. It's not related to the author and the trust they're trying to gain. And so I tried to encourage the student to go a little more into appeal language, like how does this relate to the author's credibility and overall ethical likability? At this point in the paper, there's still not analysis at all of the three appeals. Um, and then here, she does try to give credit to the author and cites, Professor Scott. I just want to see a paper where there's actual really good paraphrasing mixed in with several examples of direct quotation marks. Just to comment to everybody really quickly that you want to make sure you have a nice healthy balance of both paraphrasing and citing directly. This student does not cite at all directly from the author's words, and so what happens as a result is her words are kind of intermingled with his, and we can't really tell whose is who, but really mostly it's Gibbs' language. I recognize a lot of the words, the vocabulary from his article. And so she didn't really try to do her own original thinking. She could have said, for example, trailblazer. And, the fact that people in STEM should be hiring more diverse trailblazers, not just innovators in society. That's a word that I'm coming up on my own. You just have to think it through so that you're not echoing everything the author is saying all the time. Because I know that students are often really influenced by the author's words. So let me know how I can help you. Just to wrap up, let me know how I can help you avoid a failed paper or unintentional plagiarism. I will help you cite the evidence if anything in this module is still unclear to you. That's why you're attempting the rough draft in this next week, and hopefully you'll reach out if you feel like you need a little work on giving credit to the author so that you get the grade ultimately that you deserve.